Welcome to the 13 Rivers Trust Community Show. Today's topic will be on reflection on the past, a female perspective. We have a few guests with us tonight. We have Liza and Syeda. I'm going to ask for you guys to introduce yourselves in a bit. But just quickly, just so everyone knows who I am, my name is Tanzina Zaman. I used to go to Marbury myself, Marbury School for Girls in Tower Hamlets. I graduated Marbury in 2016, and then I studied natural sciences at Cambridge, and I'm currently working. So today's topic will be a female's perspective of growing up in Tower Hamlets, growing up in Britain, and any struggles we faced, mainly people who grew up in the 80s and 90s. And then, I think it will be interesting to hear the differences we've all kind of experienced. So firstly, can I ask Liza Ahmed, could you talk a bit about yourself and what you do and just introduce yourself?
Assalamualaikum. Thank you, Tanzina. That was a great introduction. My name is Liza Ahmed and I'm a primary school teacher. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm a primary school teacher. I'm a mother of 3 children and a passionate poet who's recently published a poetry book. And also, I'm an active member of 13 Rivers Trust.
Thank you. And then we have Syeda Choudhury. Could you introduce yourself to the audience, please? Syeda, can you hear us? Okay, I think we're having a bit of technical issues with Syeda, but as you can see, she's a business entrepreneur. So hopefully when she comes on in a bit, she can introduce herself properly. But okay, so Liza, I'll just start with you. So you said you're a mother of 3, and you're doing quite a lot in terms of, I guess, side projects, and I know you're involved with the community quite a lot. So I mean, how much of that do you do right now? Like, how do you balance being a mother, and could you just tell everyone like all the different community kind of projects that you've been involved in?
It's not easy. However, I think you have to have the drive and the passion for it. You would want to do things if you have the passion for it. So
yeah,
I always wanted to write. So that's one of the things I did, enjoyed writing over the years, and finally published a book, alhamdulillah. Wanted to become a teacher, wanted to do it. It wasn't easy for me, but I did manage to, complete what I wanted to do. And alhamdulillah, I've been teaching in a primary school for a good few years now. And in terms of my charity work, I just feel like that's another thing that I've always been passionate about, making a difference. I always used to say to myself, I have to make a difference. Even if it's a small difference, I have to make a difference. So if I can't make a difference globally, I will have to make a difference within my community. So that's something I've been working on. Alhamdulillah, Sile Aid came along, Eden Care came along. And as much as I could, I tried. It all started off with doing small things like raising money for Bangladesh flood within the community. We did things with a few friends. Then we did our own project. It's called Asha Project, with quite a few friends, where we raise money for acid victims. And then for Sile Aid, we raised lots of money over the years, going to Bangladesh and giving out aid to the poorest people in the most rural villages, giving out sewing machines and things. So it's not easy balancing. A lot of people ask me that, people think I'm a bit mad, but I just think if you want to do whatever you want to do in life, you can do it.
Yeah, definitely.
But if you want to make the difference, you can do it. Syeda seems to be back, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, back and gone. We'll just wait for her to kind of join us properly.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Tanzina. We've been very proud of you, alhamdulillah.
Thank you. Well, what do you want to know?
So tell us how your growing up in Tower Hamlets for you, because I didn't grow up in Tower Hamlets. I grew up in Newham. So for me,
Oh, did
growing
you?
up in Newham and then coming to Tower Hamlets, so I have had a bit of both experience, and now I'm working in Newham. Like I worked as a teacher in Tower Hamlets a few years
Yeah.
back, and now I'm in Newham. So I know the difference. But obviously, you went to Tower Hamlets school, and tell us a little bit about how life was in Mulberry. My daughter goes in Mulberry too.
Yeah, so I grew up in Tower Hamlets pretty much most of my life. I went to Marbury School for Girls for secondary school and sixth form. Sorry, just quickly, Syeda, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear us? Do you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, we can hear you. Just before I talk about myself, Syeda, do you want to introduce yourself and just tell everyone what you do?
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. And I'm Syeda Choudhury, and I'm a community activist, also fashion designer for Syeda C, which is my brand. And I work in the community, and my brand is actually helping the poor and needy to learn new skills, and also give charity of the income, like 10% of the charity to income up to the charity. So I like to do some more some charity work, and I went to Mulberry School, and the days been in the 80s, 82 to 1987. So that's me.
Okay, good. I'm definitely going to ask.
Jealous sometimes when everyone talks about Mulberry School, and I feel like I don't belong in Mulberry, and everyone talks about Mulberry here. But yeah, you tell us about Mulberry experience.
Yeah, so I went, I think it was 2008 to 2015. And my experience was very pleasant as far as I can remember. It's been one of the most sort of, I guess, enjoyable moments of my life. I know I'm still quite young and I have some more days to live, but yeah, definitely just reminisce and think about all the good times. In terms of, I know this show's about struggling, we're talking about our struggles growing up and stuff. I think personally, growing up in Tower Hamlets and going to Marbury in the community that I did go with, it was pretty sheltered, I think, because I was the majority, and everyone around me was like me, and we can relate. And our teachers were very encouraging, and they told us that we can do whatever we want if we put our minds to it. And obviously, we have had the older generation like you guys to kind of go through some of the struggles for us. So it's very much appreciated, and I think it's definitely made our lives much easier. So yeah, that's my experience of going to Marbury. Like, it's been so positive. It's made a difference to my life. I think I do think about, if I were to grow up somewhere else or go to another school, how would I be here today, or would I have done a lot of things that I've done in the past? And yeah, I can give a lot of credit to the community that we live in now, and schools like Mulberry. So yeah, that's me pretty much.
Still have fresh memories of Mulberry because you just left, kind of, isn't it? Mulberry.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's long time ago. And then for the other sister, what's your name again?
Liza.
Liza. Okay. Yeah. What I can say from my time, I think we were the first batch to be there as a big number. I'm sure there's been girls before me, probably started late 70s or middle 70s. But when I went, we did have a lot of Bengali girls there. And as I said, it's been God knows how many years now. I finished 1987. So our time, the school itself, we felt really comfortable being with the school environment. But when we actually in the outside of in the community, it wasn't the same as what you see now. We've been through so much. racism mainly, and then obviously cultural clashes, and we are new in the country. We are like the second generation now. It's fourth generation running in England of Bangladeshi families, Bangladeshi community. We've faced a big number of major incidents of racial harassment, and I mean, I witnessed one very close to my house and my family, my brother, and everyone kind of know about this situation, this incident. But I'll talk about it in a minute, but you guys carry on.
Oh, it's quite, I think for someone like you, Tanzina, to even listen to what I just said, having had the experience of going to Mulberry, you must feel the difference, isn't it? You must see the major difference between the era in the 70s, 80s, 90s to now, or recent years, isn't it? Well, for me, obviously, I didn't go to Mulberry or not from Harmless, but I wouldn't say racism. I would say finding my ground, finding my identity. It was like trying to fit in all the time. It was a case of fighting for your right. It was just small things like, lunchtime in schools, standing in a certain place, a group of girls would come because they think, oh, these are just Bengali girls, or these are just, Asian girls. Oh my goodness. Just talking about.
Sorry, I'm late. I was fiddling around.
Same cohort. Alhamdulillah. Now, just saying how, for us, it wasn't racism. It was more finding our identity. I guess for me, it was more finding my ground, finding my identity. Like a lot of the times you have to fight for yourself. It doesn't mean that you are fearless. It just means that you don't show your fear. A lot of the times there were a group of girls just come up to you saying, you know what, this is a nice place, you need to get away. But to have the strength to fight back and say, no, I also belong here. I don't have to move away. So I think a lot of that for me, it was just like trying to find my identity within that community and within the environment that I was growing up in. And just talking to some of the friends earlier, and it was quite interesting to hear how some of us were called Pakis, go back to your own country. And it's just like, it just reminds me of those moments, how it was such a norm to hear these comments, actually.
Same. Yeah.
Khaleda, introduce yourself.
Do you want to introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, we have a new guest.
Yeah.
Hi. Sorry, I was I was fiddling about with my laptop for too long. Alhamdulillah, finally came around. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Khaleda. I think you've got the title as I'm just I run a small business called Hal Boutique, and yeah, I'm here with you guys.
Excellent.
Is everyone okay?
How many? You've got 3, isn't it?
Now we have the actual host.
Finally made it.
Yes, I did. Mashallah. It's always a challenge, obviously with the internet and everything. So I had to come to a better place where we've got good access to the internet. Yeah, Tanzina, fantastic. You did a fantastic job there. Yeah, do you think she's done a good job?
She did. She was doing it. Our young Tanzina.
Good. Well done. First of all, on behalf of 13 Rivers, can I thank you all for actually taking part with us, inshallah. Yeah, it's very important that we have these kind of discussion shows and that, especially reflecting on the past and how we can learn lessons from the past as well. And I just want to say to all our brothers and sisters who are watching, you don't have to just watch us. You can also take part with us as well. You can actually message us, leave comments and things. You can also give your suggestion as well. But obviously, we've got the sisters here with their experiences. We'll engage with them. So if you have any questions, if you have any points you want to make, you can message us or you can call us as well. The number is right in front of us, 0208 1234507. Inshallah. So first of all, let me thank everyone. I know they've done an introduction to themselves. It's really good to have them on board. Last week, we covered a similar topic as well with the brothers as well, mashallah, their experiences. So just remind me how much you've covered so far.
Yeah, so I think we all gave an introduction, and we were just talking about sort of the experience of how it was growing up in school in Britain. We've already established that there's a massive difference between when I was growing up and when Syeda and Lisa and Khaleda were growing up. So yeah, I think, was it Lisa? You were on something?
Sorry, repeat that again for me.
Sorry, I was saying, were you telling us about sort of the experiences that you had at school and kind of like the
No,
racist
so
slurs?
obviously, Khaleda and I, we went to the same school. We grew up kind of. We spent 5 hours of our life in Stratford School in Newham. It was quite funny how none of us grew up in Tower Hamlets, but we ended up in Tower Hamlets, didn't we? Honestly, the experience in school was one of the probably best experiences I've personally had. But yes, there are some memories that I have. I think it's about fitting in, feeling the sense of belonging. I think always fighting for your identity. Like, do I belong here? Do I just let people walk all over me when they want me to just move away, or be somebody who just listens to what everybody else is saying, or do I fight my own battle? And I think I did, and I became a strong person who always fought for herself, and I did not let anybody walk all over me. And I fought for my friends. If I cared for somebody and I thought something was not right, I always fought for it. So for me, it was just like, I wouldn't say it's racism, it's more like having a sense of belonging where I was growing up and where I went in school.
So, Lisa, I presume you weren't called Paki and things like that in your school?
Kind of. I know a lot of people probably wouldn't believe, but Khaleda, I don't know, you probably remember a lot of things. I just feel like it was just the other day. And
I feel the same.
Getting old.
Seeing you on the show seems like, yeah. Just the other day, we haven't met for how long? How many years? It seems like we've just met the other day. But yeah, it's refreshing memories, really. I was telling you about earlier that I am actually not from Tower Hamlet. I mean, I didn't grow up in Tower Hamlet. We grew up in a different area. He's like, oh, that's even better. You can talk about your experiences from other areas. Oh, okay.
Well, just to Khaleda, just to let you know, there are people watching us from across the UK. There are people watching us from other towns and cities as well. Because online, there's a lot of people. Because you got to remember, Newham and Tower Hamlet, East London, isn't it? It's
neighbouring area. Yeah.
Across the country in that period of time, people were having their struggles. It was common to be called Pakis. Our uncles were scared to go out, and when they did go out, they had to fight their way through. The brothers that we spoke last week and people I know, they were constantly physically fighting racism and that. Yeah. But I also remember the sisters. Like, I'll give you an example. The sisters at Morpeth School, because it was a mixed school. Mashallah, they played a very, very big role in resisting racism and challenging racism, and they kind of played a very unique and different role. Obviously, I've actually witnessed myself sisters getting attacked as well. Henceforth, the community there at that particular school had to organize themselves. They had to defend the students who come into school. I remember it was the sisters who organized a lot of the activities. They organized the leaflet distribution, and like behind the scene. Like they were doing a lot of things that's not really been acknowledged now today as well. And a lot of sisters played an active role in the anti-racist movement as well. And saying that, some of them, really they got attacked as well. So, all of us are going to have different experiences depending on what generation we come from. And I know some of our sisters now will probably face the institutional racism a little bit more. But just before we go too really deep into that, yeah, the key thing for us is, like, obviously we've got a lot of young people who are watching us, and it's an intergeneration kind of information. I know, one of the sisters mentioned how the experiences are very different. One of the things we want to highlight is how the difference in what we are here and the situation that we're facing now. And it looks like now we're also facing a new type of racism, which is kind of more institutional and cultural. Does anyone have a view on what's the big major difference between racism in the past and the racism that we face today?
I would say today we can tackle things as a community. I think everyone's trying to work together and support one another. It's not a one-man battle. So, if a group of us come together, there'll be other people from the community to come and fight the issue or go on a march. Whereas before, I think people were a lot more scared.
Also, when it's formed a different, now he has formed a different, what should I say, a different face. Before it was just in the front, you are getting name called, and now it's gone a bit more institutional, like Abjol said, and where we face that, in the jobs, like in the field of jobs, and the education. We see in the jobs a lot of institutional racism. People face the glass ceiling, and especially for women, when there are already glass ceiling for women in general. But when you were brown, when you are Bangladeshi Muslim, there is a big, thicker glass ceiling there. So we face it that way in terms of climbing your ladder of your career. And many times, we have seen people getting very, very frustrated that they have everything it needs, everything it asks for, but only because of the color of the skin, you find yourself in a different situation than your counterpartner, like your other colleagues. And I personally faced that in my work. I used to work for a big organization. It was a housing organization. And I found myself in this sort of situation, as in getting treatment differently to my other colleagues who are doing the same work. But not getting good, you get appraisals and all of, like, in terms of getting how much money you earn is always there at the moment.
Sadia, what did you do? I mean, obviously, if you faced that, I mean, what response, or did you take any actions against this kind of behavior attitude towards you?
It's very tricky to pinpoint those. It's really shady. It's there, but you can't really pinpoint it, basically, or speak out. These are done really silently, and it's done because of that. But it's like you cannot do anything just at that level, really. So I mean,
sorry, finish off, because I've got when you said that,
you carry on. That's fine. Go on.
An experience. My brother-in-law, he's completed his PhD, and now obviously he's at an university where he's lecturing. He's got a position. He's got a position as an English lead that was given to him forcefully, but he's a mathematician, so he's got maths and physics background. He didn't want to, but obviously his boss thought, why not? Let's give it to you. However, as soon as he's got it, unfortunately, what is sad is he was facing a lot of issues where it's not open to him, but he knows that he's not been accepted by everyone around him, where they will make comments behind his back, or if he's guiding them or telling them to do something, they will bother to do it, like, clearly, just to show that, what, why are you doing it? You don't belong here. You shouldn't be doing it. And it come to a point where despite him being so highly educated, he just felt like he's not good enough. He's not good enough. So I think a lot of the times it might not be out openly. People might not say it to you, but they make you feel this way, isn't it?
Tanzina, obviously you're more likely the most youngest here at the moment. From your experience, do you see a lot of young people facing these kind of institutional type of racism?
Actually, yes, and I've had some personal experiences myself. I would have to say, though, for me personally, the kind of discrimination and the struggles of being sort of a brown young Muslim girl happened outside of Tower Hamlets and past secondary school and sixth form. So, when I went to university, I went to Cambridge, and there was very few kind of ethnic people.
Tanzina, one of the things we do, as soon as there's a call, we try and go to the call, inshallah, yeah? So
okay.
I think we've got a call. Yeah. Let's go to the call. Assalamu alaikum, caller.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's Abu Mumin.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, brother Abu Mumin. How are you? And welcome to the show. And if you have a comment or a question, more than happy to take that.
Yes, we spoke about the brothers' perspective last week to racism and issues around what used to happen. And, I have to say there's 2 points. One is I used to get attacked quite frequently, living in Poplar and then moving to Cannon Street Road near Mulberry School. And I had a younger sister, my mother. It was extremely difficult for them to understand why we were being attacked because of the color of our skin. And my mother and both my father had difficulty expressing that to the police officers because we needed police protection. They were smashing our windows, and it was very hard because the home was attacked and their children was attacked. And now that you have Sister Syeda on the show, and the first time I came across her family was through Saeed Dohan, who is a close friend of mine. And and what used to happen in the Isle of Dogs at that time, I never thought that sort of thing existed, and I believe that was around the 90s, when we thought everything had gone, but it kind of moved from one area to another area.
No.
And,
Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind Sister Syeda about that.
Yeah, at the beginning of the show, I did say, I mentioned a bit, and then I'll go into it in the middle of the show when everyone's come up. So yeah, that was an incident that happened to my family, as I said earlier on, girls, that I'm going to talk about it. Yes, Abu Munimba is really, reminding me that, and it's very emotional what happened to my family. It was at that time, 1993. So my brother got nearly killed, basically. He was chased by about 35 to 40 men with machetes, with baseball bats and everything. And they were running after him. And he was with my mom at the bottom of our building. And as he was getting in, that time they came to attack him. So he just ran, instead of going in the house, inside the building, he ran the opposite way, because by the time he gets in the building, they're going to beat him or they're going to hit him. So he ran fast and he went the opposite side. And then my mom was left on her own crying. I only had my baby then. So I was not about to, that well enough to come out and run and do anything. And so it's just like we thought, okay, my mom thought he's not going to come back, and that's the end of him. And imagine that feeling of a mother who saw her son getting chased by about 30 to 40 men with very dangerous weapons and stuff. And he ran, and he went inside the shop in Westbury Road. Is a news agent, was an Indian man, and he said to my brother, "Don't come in my shop or don't hide in my shop. They're going to attack my shop. Can you leave my shop?" So he took the back door of the shop and went where the lake is, the river that runs. So he was actually between the river and the little bit of the path that he can walk. But he has to go bending down so they don't see his head, top of his head, above the railing. So he did that. Basically, if he stepped right, one step, then he would have been in the water. So imagine all of that. But we had no clue that he was. Where was he? My mom, when we waited for hours and hours, the police came, and then we were crying. My mom was crying really loud, and my mom was told to shut up by the police. That why is she making so much noise? And I'm like, that's a son who just gone missing and who just got chased by all these men. Can you go and find him? They said, we cannot go and find him unless he comes and he phones us and tell us where he is. There were no mobiles, nothing. How can you even do it? They wouldn't go and search for him, basically. And the police, we were so disappointed, and we could not do nothing. After hours and hours in the house, inside we were at home crying, and the police were just hanging around doing hardly anything. And then I think it's about 3-4 hours later, somehow he managed to get into one of the buildings, one of the tower blocks that we are we're in one tower blocks. He went right to the other end of the tower blocks in a line. So he got into this friend's house and he called us. He called and said, I'm okay, I'm safe. Imagine what happened to my mom. All these hours we've been waiting, and I had just had my baby. I was like really, really fragile myself. And there wasn't any other men in the house. I think my dad was at the mosque. So it was only me, my mom, and then my brother and my little baby. And so after that, my mom developed a very really bad disease. Like she would just fall asleep anywhere, and then she had an ulcer bust, and from that she just deteriorated. She's still like bedridden now, and she's still alive, alhamdulillah. But from then her health got really worse, like started to become worse. That's my brother's story. And after that, he grew his beard. Before that, the school chucked him out because why is he growing a beard? And he said, I'm a Muslim man. It's a normal thing for a man to grow a beard anyway. This is another situation he faced. And he was kicked out of the school because he was growing beard, and he wouldn't shave his beard off because he said, I'm going to never cut my beard off. And they said, you can't even sit for your exam. That was in George Green School. That's when everyone got involved as well. I think Abu Munim Bhai was, Abjol, Abdullah, whole of the community, like leaders, they all came together. But yes, that happened not very long ago, when he was growing beard, at the same time actually, it's like 92, 94, up to that 2-3 years, in the space of 2-3 years, we faced 2 major incidents. The one, like, he nearly got killed. Another one, he got kicked out of his school because he was growing beard. And he was made into isolation if he did go to school, not mixed with other children. And also he could not sit exams at the right time. So his exams were delayed just because he was growing beard.
Yeah.
Syeda, Jazakallah for that. Yeah, first of all, give our salam to your mum as well. May Allah bless her being a strong lady. You know, our mothers of that time were very brave ladies. Even though they were traumatized, they had to go through, seeing regularly their sons getting beaten up or their husbands getting beaten up. I remember many of my uncles and my cousins who were much, much older than me, they had to fight on the streets, come back with all blood around their face, and my mum and other khalas will actually help them, do first aid on them. It was, like I said in the other show, it was like kind of pretty normal to see that kind of violence at that time. And I know Syed very well as well. And the particular issue regarding the beard, he became quite famous in East London because of that.
We won the case in the end. Yeah, there was a case.
Because he made a stance, and it shows institutional racism, overt racism was very rife. And you mentioned about the police. We had no trust in the police. Believe me, we had no respect for the police at that time. I mean, I've got a lot of respect for police nowadays, but the police at that time had no respect. I remember they used to put the brothers into the van. They used to smash them inside the van as well, yeah, and then let them go afterwards. They would give them a good beating and then let them go because they didn't want to take them to the police station, yeah. So these are some of the stories, and I've got to say to the sisters and mothers who were around at that time, it must have been quite traumatic for them, and a lot of that information hasn't been taken on board. We are looking at trying to do the research from a sister female perspective so that we can do some documentaries as well as maybe do some kind of a feature film on the history of East London and how people suffered, because the new generation, like Tanzina, they're not gonna know this unless they ask someone, they ask their elders, and many of our elders are passing away as well, so it's quite important. So let's kind of move on now. Has anyone else kind of like got that kind of experience, or they know someone in their families that had that kind of like traumatic experience?
Alhamdulillah, I have to say, I've not experienced nothing, personally myself, any racism, and I'm so grateful to Allah I haven't had to experience anything like that. But my husband always tells me about his stories when they were in school and how they used to get attacked every single day. And that's my husband Moinula and Enam Baisab, I think. They used to get attacked every single day by obviously the white guys, where it wasn't minor racism. They used to get brutally beaten up, like really badly beaten up every single day. Their lunch used to get snatched from them every single day. Anything they had to eat, get snatched from them. they would actually, I think there was times that they were never able to have lunch. It always used to get taken away from them until one day my husband actually stood up and he fought back. And that's when every single time he tells me his stories about how he got into fighting and how he became the way he is, it's due to the racism he suffered in his young age. And it wasn't only him, it was him and his two brothers. They all three of them did suffer a lot of racism. I think it's not even minor, it was quite bad. Where yeah, he stood up for himself. Where it's good that he stood up for himself, but it did put him into a lot of trouble with families and in school. But yeah, from his experience, I do say, alhamdulillah, I haven't had none of that in my life, and I pray that our children don't. But these kind of things, from how it was in the past to now, it does scare me because even though there was, we have a lot of us did suffer, or many of us who did suffer racism. It wasn't as bad as these days. I think these days it leads to like knife crime. It's more of physical damage than in the past. If it was emotionally blackmailing and emotionally bullying people or other stuff, it wasn't as much physical as it is now. Now any sort of racism, if you take back or if you stand for yourself, it's the next thing that happens. Knife crime. It's physically attacking each other.
I think it was physical then, and then in the middle it got better, and now it's gone physical again. But it was Alta Wali died. Kudus Ali also had brain injuries and everything. We had so many other physical attacks that happened to Bangladeshi community. But in the middle, I think we had a good time, and now it's gone into again physical with knife crime.
It's all about physical.
Now,
Okay.
It's all about like murdering, really.
Okay, sisters, we got new guests on the show as well, mashallah. Can we just quickly ask to introduce yourself? Just give us a little bit of your background.
Hi, Assalamu alaikum everyone. So sorry I'm quite late. I had a little bit of incident. But anyway, nice to see everybody here. I have been watching you all on the way here. And yeah, it's quite interesting actually.
Introduce yourself. Your name. And
yeah, so my name is Momotaj Ahmed. And I'm a business entrepreneur. I have a salon, hair and beauty salon boutique, and I'm obviously engaged with quite a lot of charity work, and I do a lot of my own empowerment work with women, like here and globally. Yeah, so that's it.
Welcome to the show on behalf of 13 Rivers, mashallah, and it's great to have you on board, and it's really important that we get our sisters to actually kind of have their point of views as well. Inshallah, hopefully, very soon I'm looking for a co-host to kind of like take on some of the role as well. So maybe someone in this group could become a co-host for us for the future as well, inshallah. Tell us a little bit about your experience. I mean, the sisters had the chance to share some of their experiences. Tell us your growing up, wherever you've grown up in London.
Okay.
Or wherever.
Yeah. Well, I'm brought up in Tower Hamlets, and I'm still living in Tower Hamlets. To be honest, I love it. I've always the thing is that there have been racism. There was like issues, problems, but I would say I still had a good good time growing up. It's because I think like my older generation, like one before us, like my uncles, like my uncles and my eldest brother or my eldest cousins, they're the one who faced the racism more than us. Like I don't remember much. I was quite young when my youngest uncle was still in school, and I had a lot of stories, or I had a lot of stories about like an incidents that they suffered and they went through. But I think when we started secondary school, high school, I'm a Marlborough school student, ex-student. So when we started Marlborough, it was in the 90s. So, I mean, by then, 1990s predominantly was like Bengalis. It was like 99% was Bengali. I think the whole of Tower Hamlets was just full, like 99%. Or maybe more, was just Bengali. So I think where like the table has changed by then, like when we started school, we were quite strong, or strong meaning like we knew what happened before us. We knew what happened to our elder generation, like our elder brothers, uncles, aunties, and we knew. So we were very angry. We were like kind of frustrated, and we were there like the way we kind of approached to people then, like especially our teachers. I think the only other ethnicities that we'd find in school was like white would be our teachers really, and maybe one or two like girls that was white English, so they were really scared of us. By then it was like the table had like changed really, like we were aggressive towards them, and they couldn't come. I mean, I don't know if you girls agree to that. I don't know, anyone go to school in 90s, early 90s, mid 90s? So yeah, so I was quite tough and rough and can't be of a bully, so the teachers come like tell me off, even if I'm wrong, I'd like respond back, reply back. Like I knew my rights. I knew they can't say what they shouldn't say. I know they can't be physical, and so we knew all of it. So it's like it was different for us, even though there were like there was still racism, but it was indirect, and yeah, it was done indirectly. So a lot of the time I did feel it. So I was quite responsive towards everything, and hence obviously that the way I was treated is like I was a naughty kid, I was the naughty girl, like they would like expel me, do this, do that. But my dad was very strong. Again, he would go to school, fight for me and this and that. So eventually they kind of gave in, and then I kind of got on. But yeah, so that's just a bit from me about school. Someone else wants to share anything else?
Yeah, no, that's great. That's it kind of fits in because obviously in the 80s it was like pitch high, 70s and 80s it was pitch high, then mid 80s, you know, like it was still high, and then by 90s it kind of like started to kind of like digress in that. It's also to do with
we became strong. I would say.
Sorry.
I think by 90s we became quite strong. Like, you know how I was saying earlier, to always trying to find my ground and my, you know, identity. It was that. And you know, if I knew that there were a group of girls that didn't like us, but it was never racial comments or anything, but you can see that they did not like us being in a certain place, and I would never move away because I was always a strong character. I would never move away. I'd get into the fights, my dad would get called in, and a number of times he'd tell me off and say, why? And I'd be like, no, I'm not letting anybody you know, make me feel like I can't fight my own battle and I have to move away and give in. So, you know, I always made sure that I was strong enough to fight it. Okay,
let me ask the question to everyone. Yeah, feel free for everybody to ask that question. Now, obviously, there is a time distance. You know, many of us are pretty young. Inshallah, if we were to go back in time, in the 70s and 80s, okay, imagine that Tower Hamlet is derelict. You know, slum housing, overcrowding housing. You know, I remember, you know, in one property we lived, the toilets were outside. There was no toilets indoors. I remember one flat where the bathroom was actually in the kitchen. Okay, so the bathroom was actually in the kitchen. And now let's transport you back into time. Yeah, so you are who you are in the 70s or the 80s, and you got pitch racism taking place. You got brothers and sisters, you got uncles, you got everybody there. How would you navigate yourself around that kind of circumstances? How do you think you would actually try and deal or address those kind of issues? Let's see how creative you are.
Well, personally, I wouldn't want to go back.
Syeda has got some experiences, so let's put Syeda to the side for now at the moment. Shall we? Let's start with some volunteers first.
Okay, I'll start. The thing is that it's not totally like, I mean, what it is, I've seen that even in late 80s, 90s. I've seen people. I've been to people's home where they had bathroom, like a bath in the kitchen and toilet outside, like in Brick Lane, for example. One of my aunties used to live there, but in our house we had toilet, bathroom, everything at home. But when we used to go to their house, it was really awkward. All like my cousin and me, all three of us had to go to the bath on our own, but like I would refuse to have a bath there. And then in the night we were given a bucket inside, like in the room, like, to use the bucket in the night. But we actually were excited to go because it was, I think only very few people had it, like in late 80s or early 90s, very, very few people had it. So it's like, yes, I've seen it. It's not like, you know, I know what it was like. But I don't know. I think for me, it would have been an experience if you did have it, and it would be fun, I think.
How would you face racism? So, you know, people are a bit direct. Oh, Patty, oh, get out the way, you know, or, and you know, like you knew that if you came out your house, you'll get attacked, you know.
Do you know what? I'm actually, sometimes I wish I was there at that time, because I'm a very strong person. I'm very, I have my own kind of, I don't know, it's like character, and I'm kind of a carefree person. I know what I want, and it doesn't matter, you know, what it takes. If I want it, I will get it, even if it means I have to go over like so many barriers and, you know, beat everything on my way, and I would do it. So if I was there, I don't know, I don't think anything would have really, I don't think I would have had any fears. I mean, I don't know what would come on my way, like things like what someone would, as a girl, I don't know, how did the female really suffer that way in like face-to-face racism that way? I don't know. Did say, okay, I'd just approach people nicely, friendly way. I'd ask them, you know, what the problem is. I mean, if I could speak your language, you know, if I have two eyes, if I have two hands, and you can say I can respond to you, you know, what's your problem? Yeah.
Imagine they don't want to talk to you. Imagine, Momotaj, they don't want to talk to you. They see your brother. They're going to ram into your brother. They're going to steam your brother. Okay? And you're going to have to watch your brother get beaten up on the floor.
Oh, no. I will definitely try and protect him, and I'll probably start punching as well.
I think because we haven't really faced so much of this, it's easier for us to maybe say we could possibly just fight it and be that strong character. But I don't think what Syeda and them lot,
it would be scary. Of course, it would be scary.
I think personally, it would be very difficult for me to go through this and see. I know my brother got into a lot of trouble and a lot of fights. There were gang fights and things, and he'd come in. But I wouldn't want to see that again. I wouldn't want to go through that again. And I just feel like it's so much more nicer now.
If you were there, what would you have done?
Abjol bhai.
Yeah. Syeda.
No, you asked us for navigating. How would you have done it?
Yeah.
I mean, I think we did everything we could at that time to go about life, really. I mean, I still went to school, college, still went to uni later on, but going to work. I started working when I was only 16 at Kingsley Hall as a youth worker. And at that time, Choudhury was working with the older children. I was working with the younger ones. And I had to the parents wouldn't let them go out, the kids on their own, or lunchtime go back. It's a youth scheme, 6 weeks. And then we had the Christmas for 3 weeks, you know, just the breaks. We had all the school breaks, we had play schemes. And it was in Bow. So you can imagine how the Bow was at that time. Yeah. And we did, so I used to go to knock on the doors, bring the kids. I was kidding myself. I was like, hold them like this. And then it was like 3 kids on each side of my hand, and each hand. And I used to get spotted. And what I can do, and I was just walk, that's tell the children, don't look at them, don't say anything, just carry on walking to the center. So I used to get spotted, called names and everything. But we did, I mean, I've been up front or in the front line, constant, nothing stopped me. And but I did get a lot of harassment every time. And I used to go to Hillary House in Tebet State, do you know? And do you know someone called Georgina Bims from back then? I used to learn from her English. She used to teach me writing, you know, essays and creative writing. So I used to go to her house, but she had to pick me from the bus stop and take me to Hillary House, to her house. And I used to stay there overnight to study. And then I used to come home in the morning, but she used to escort me to this to the bus stop. You know, it wasn't safe to go to her house from the bus stop to like Tebet State bus stop to Hillary House. It was not safe, but it didn't stop me. And I would be the same now, that it wouldn't I wouldn't stop what I have to do. I would find ways. I would get white people to help me, and that's what I did in the past. So I did everything that I could do. Even with my brother, I used to take him to Kingsley Hall as a youth, and we used to eat, we used to eat lunch together. He used to be scared of white people, white boys, and we used to say, let's play together, let's mingle. There was a lot of, we put up with so much. Then we formed a group called Women Unite Against Racism in 1992, I think. And then we operated the Women Uniting Against Racism, and we did a lot of work. We went to, different places in the country, and we did a lot of work. But yeah, that group celebrated its 25th anniversary like last year. So yeah, we even formed a group with a lot of white friends and many of us. So
Tanzina, very quickly.
We can do the same. We have to.
Tanzina, yeah, very quickly, if you can help me a little bit, volunteering. I know people are making comments and messages. Can you see the comments and messages on your screen?
Oh, let me just click on.
Yeah, click on the comment section.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, scroll through that, and time to time, if you can read some of the comments and messages in that. First of all, can I say to all the brothers and sisters who are messaging, we will try our best to kind of like read some of those out as well. Thank you. Keep on messaging, keep on communicating with us. I know I'm putting the sisters in a very difficult situation because obviously, I want everyone out there to feel this experience, and I'll tell you why. Because our mothers and aunties, they used to work hard. They did not have a single social time. They couldn't watch a movie. They couldn't go to cinema. They had no opportunity to go for a meal. There was no such thing as a restaurant at that time. What there was, it was only men only. And majority of the ladies at that time, or when I was little, they were actually working at home on the machines. Okay,
Yeah.
They were actually
Machine.
making the income in order to meet the financial demands that the family faced.
Yeah.
And many of the ladies of that time, they sacrificed their youth, their young middle age. Many of them are elderly now, but the sacrifices that they have made wouldn't have made a lot of us, wouldn't have made us with our experiences. So it is important that we kind of get that feeling across to people, the difficulty that they face. I mean, we're able to go for a meal now, spend social time, leisure time, recreational time. They didn't have that. They did not have that time. They were worried, are their husbands going to come back home safely? Or their husbands, are they going to be locked up in a police station? Is their son going to get beaten up? And they had to deal with that situation when that situation did take place. And, I remember, like I said in the last show, even my mum had to fight to stop the racists trying to break into our house as well when we were little, and they had to deal with this kind of thing. And I totally agree that there were a lot of non-Bangladeshi activists who helped us as well. Many non-Bangladeshi activists, indigenous English people helped us in various different ways. I remember a lady who, out of her kindness, offered her dog to protect our house, basically. So literally, we were on the ground floor. Bottles, stones used to be thrown. People used to come and knock on the door and run away. We were still little. We used to be traumatized most of the time. And then this lady said, look, what I'll do, I'll bring my dog and I'll put it right next to your door. I'll tie him up there, and none of these racists will come round and they won't try and approach the door. You know what? And that really worked. It worked so much that eventually she offered us to do a mutual exchange. So from the ground floor, we can move to the second floor. And obviously we were relieved from that burden of being on the ground floor. Bengali people at that time hated living on the ground floor. Hated. No one, now everyone wants a ground floor house. They want a garden. In the 80s and 90s, in 70s, 80s, 90s, no one wanted a ground floor because if you're on the ground floor, your windows would have been broken and you would have got in. So if there are any comments, Sister Tanzina, if you can kind of if there are any comments that people are making, can you read them out for us?
Well, yeah, there are quite a few comments, and I'm actually just, trying to take it all in because it's just what I'm hearing from, this, I guess, this show and reading the comments is just a bit, it's shocking for me, and it's saddening to hear that you guys had to go through it. But I do have a question for the guests. I would say, as mothers, do you talk about your experiences with your children, and do you try and like give any advice, or how do you make? And if you have any daughters, especially, how do you what do you say to them to make sure that they grow up to be strong, independent women who don't really take anything from anyone?
I know, I always do. I always tell my children I was fierce. I was never scared of anything, even though deep down I was scared, but never showed it. So I tell my daughter, don't let anybody, bully you or make you feel a certain way, because sometimes she feels. Just recently, she was in tears and she was telling me how, she always puts her hand up in class, and sometimes the teacher would ignore her and go to another child that she, preferably just wants to choose. I don't know if it's, I do tell her from a teacher's perspective, sometimes it's very difficult. I myself might do that, but but I always tell her, voice it out. Talk to your teacher, email her, let her know how you feel, because in this day and age, our children should not be feeling this way. Back in those days, maybe I don't think we had the courage to, if we felt a certain way, to tell our teachers. But at least now, our children should not feel this way. I think our children should feel strong enough and able enough to go and voice their opinions, voice how they feel, in a polite manner and in a respected way as possible, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I do have to say, I guess racism nowadays is a bit more quiet, and it could be more verbal, or it's more just like a feeling that you get when you enter a room. I think for us, and speaking to other peers my age, I think the issue we have now is sort of moving on to social mobility and into professional workplaces and facing racism there, or feeling really uncomfortable. Because I know, like, fresh as a graduate, I've applied to a job, and the interview went great, and they said I was a bright candidate and I would be a good candidate, but I didn't have the cultural fit. And just hearing that is just like, it's obviously, it's not nice, and we shouldn't have to face it, because it doesn't have anything to do with your capabilities or your abilities to work. And I did want to share that, because if there are any young people watching, or if anyone has gone through any experiences where they don't get a job just because of the skin color, I would say it's not something that you should feel ashamed of or annoyed with, because, or frustrated, that you don't want to say, oh, I wish I got that job, because you actually don't want to be working in an environment where they see you as something, just see you as someone different and someone they can't really get along with. So yeah, I would say it's important for our children to hear the stories that you guys have, but I do think racism nowadays, it's very different. And yeah, just reading the comments is a bit jarring, because there's a lot of it was very violent back in your days, and a lot of bashing with weapons and stuff like that, which is absolutely sort of ridiculous. And yeah, nowadays I would say, I think there's more ears, like even just witnessing this year about Black Lives Matter, like at least I feel like now it's, voices like ours are being heard more. And I do feel like I do have hope. I do think there are still struggles for young people, the struggles for sort of minorities, but I do think if we stick together and we sort of help each other, we can make these protests and movements to sort of move on.
No, Jazakallah. I want to move on now, because obviously, we are coming nearer to a time, and what happens with our show, it's so interesting that sometimes we even extend it. So sometimes we extend it. But very quickly, let's talk about. I'm gonna ask these
Can I just
questions.
come into the children?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Just quickly, as just same age as our host was something Zaman.
Tanzina.
Tanzina. My daughter's the same age, and she heard a lot of this in her life about the racism, and she actually did a dissertation on the life and the culture and the race now and then, and to see the a Bangladeshi community, how they're faced. And I think it's really important. I mean, she grew up with me talking to her, made her do those sort of research, and which came out really good in the end. And she learned so much about what she interviewed so many Bangladeshi leaders and people like Abjol Bhai, and then it was a good outcome in the end. But yeah, we do talk about it, and it's very important to talk about this. And just like Tanzina, you are in the field of work now. My daughter faces the same thing, and she's in theater world, and there is always, it's a white culture thing, and she's the minority of the minority there. So yes, it's difficult for us. Thank you very much.
Good, excellent. I'm going to throw some questions. I need everyone to kind of like answer those. It doesn't have to be right or wrong. A very easy kind of questions, yeah. Just before I go to the questions, first of all, I'm more afraid of the hidden subtle racism than the physical racist, because you know where you stand with that one. You know that that person is racist, that person is violent. But the subtle racism, the institutional racism, the designing you out racism, the cultural racist, and sometimes, you won't even feel that someone is being racist to you because they're in a way designing your environment so that you yourself exit from that kind of situation or move away from it, because number one, you don't realize it's happening, and number two, you can't do anything about it because it's really subtle. And one of the problems, well, out of many problems, one of the problem is that what it does to communities, it makes them insular. So a lot of people look for jobs within their own bubbles. They look for jobs which are their comfort zones. Yeah, I mean, who would want to? I mean, in the 80s and 90s, no one wanted to go and work in an office or wanted to integrate into the mainstream and get more harassed. They're getting beaten up on the streets, let alone get harassed. Coffee thrown at them at the workplaces and that. So yeah, they were doing the types of jobs that they're doing, and most of the intellectual races will say, oh, these areas are ghetto areas. Why is it that these Asians or Bengalis don't want to integrate and mix with them? Well, one of the reasons they didn't want to integrate and mix with them is because what are they going to integrate to that kind of problems where they're going to face all these kind of institutional racism, which already exists now, and our youngsters are going to be facing this. This is why a lot of our brothers and sisters, brothers particularly, were in the rag trade at that time. They were cabbing trade, so jobs that are comfortable for them, that's where they're actually going to. Our youngsters are going to have to move into the mainstream now. So they're going to face the type of racism that we need to help them to prepare with. So my question to all of you sisters is, what are the key strengths? 3 strengths you think we have as a community now, and your 3 strengths cannot be the same as someone else's. Okay, so who would like to go first?
Oh, goodness, that's going to be a hard one, isn't it, boy? Yeah. I don't mind. I would say, I think first of all, we have a voice where I guess before a lot of us didn't have a voice. We know our rights. We know our rights, and we can fight for our rights. And the community actually work together, and they support one another. So I would say these 3 are the strengths right now.
Excellent, very good. Okay, let's move on to another sister. Any volunteers?
Yeah, I'll go for it. I think it's very important that we have our children to focus in their education and make sure they obtain the right qualification, experience, and engage with the pathway that they want to go through. Once they have everything, I think it makes it so much easier. And then secondly, I think they should know, Liza said, we know our rights. They will know their rights. It's like we need to know our requirements. Do we have what is asked by us, asked by them, essential skills? If they have them, they need to, they can, they should be asking, if they are something, it should be reasoned. Should always ask for the reasons, and obviously if it's not reasonable, then they should take it further. And our children are lucky because they have us to come to talk to, and we have a lot of link as well. We have a lot of leaders, a lot of counsellors.
Okay, I just want to stop you. We got a phone call, so let's go to our caller, inshallah. Yeah, hello, assalamu alaikum.
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Your name, brother? Where are you calling from?
It's Halal.
Oh, brother Halal. How are you, Halal?
I'm good. All I wanted to say is you know what? So proud of the sisters and the missus on the show, sharing their experiences. And especially from last week, I had my older daughter saying, "Oh, Dad, it was just male-dominated." So today, hopefully, the female-dominated element covers it.
Well, hello. Just to let you know, yeah, there was 2 more sisters. Unfortunately, due to certain circumstances, they weren't able to come.
Of course, no, I know.
We would have had more sisters, and inshallah, yeah.
All I wanted to say was congratulations to the sisters, and we're really proud of them, and especially the missus who's on there. She had a bit of a busy day, but she rushed around and she got on the show to make sure that she could share the experiences and everything. So yeah, no, I just wanted to make a phone call to give some moral support.
No, alhamdulillah. Hello, boy, fantastic. Yeah, mashallah.
Thank you, hello, bye.
I think as a female or being a woman in Tower Hamlets, we've always had that support from our husband, brothers, fathers, uncles. Yeah, which kind of really helped us to be where we are as well. Yeah, go on.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum.
Am I left? I'm the last person. I think the strength, we are still talking about the strength.
Yep.
I think for this generation, I think identity, having a clear mind about who you are is really important, and it's a great strength to have. And also have a, education is important, not necessarily academic, but the holistic of the humankind.
Yeah. Education has been mentioned already. Education is already mentioned.
As I mentioned, I missed it. So I said about identity.
Yep, you've got identity, definitely.
Yeah. Is that parent support? Have we got that already? No. Is it extending?
Yep, we can put that in. We'll put that in, parent support.
Very supportive, you need good supportive parents. And identity, and one more, overlap, education being said already. How about having, if you're talking about academic education, I'm not talking about I said holistic approach of education. Okay, yeah, that's good. So okay, that's good. It's not only academic.
Excellent. No, thank you, Syeda. Yes, let's go. Who else?
So I would say having self-confidence and self-belief, knowing that you're as good as your peers, and then also just, I guess, navigating around whatever industry you want to work in, just like, knowing who you are, and like not being able to, I guess, build relations and network. And networking is a really big issue that I think we have as in our community, because we don't really have many of the, many links into sort of finance or banking or whatever. So just, I guess, being able to build relations and network. And then I would just say being smart with your words. I think being able to sort of be confident in yourself and be able to tell people your skills, not being boastful or anything, but yeah, I think that does get you a long way.
Fantastic. And Khaleda?
I would like to add on with that parenting, which the sister was saying. Yeah. It's one of the strongest thing I think these days that us parents do, that my parents didn't do with me, or like, I don't know, I think in the older generation, many parents didn't do with their children. Is sharing information with your children, like really bonding with that relationship where they can come and talk to you, regardless what the scenario, what the situation is. Even the smallest thing where someone just looked at you in a bad way, or someone said something to you, anything, the child should come and share with you. Have that relationship, have that open relationship, build up that friendship with your child.
Okay, girl or boy, either way. You there. Let's go to the caller. We've got another caller there, yeah? Assalamu alaikum. Next caller.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Assalamu alaikum.
Sounds like Fahana.
Yes. Fahana Zaman. I was busy to even call up, but my daughter and I were watching, and I just feel so inspired by the sisters. So first of all, we have a beautiful lineup of guests. Wonderful messages they said today, and just wanted to say that my 8-year-old daughter thinks that it's a very important topic. So you're actually reaching out to different age groups. Well done. Abjol bhai, can we see more sisters coming up to your show?
Inshallah, you know what? I want to have more and more sisters. I also need a co-host as well. Inshallah. So from 13 Rivers community show, we'll be highlighting the successes of our sisters, because you've got to remember, when we're doing charity work or we're doing any community work, our sisters are at the forefront, and sometimes that isn't being highlighted. And also the impact is on sisters and children as well. So, you know, I do a lot of humanitarian work abroad. It's, you know, majority are females and children who are affected in many of the war-torn countries as well. And it's up to us how we get that narrative out, how we get the story out. So we need your help as well, sisters, for you to come forward, take on the baton, you know, become co-host, you know, even run the show if necessary, inshallah. Yeah, and that's what we're looking for. So Farhana, jazakallah, because you helped in the background.
Sister Saida's like being a bit humble, because I remember like I was quite little, and she was very active in the community. And then Zaman Rashid, she's commenting, I can see on Facebook, you know, they were very outgoing. My sister, Zaman, and then we have like Momotaj Khan and lots of other people with my sister. I remember like growing up and seeing these kind of role models. I must have missed out so many names, so I'm really sorry. But, you know, I feel so grateful and blessed to grow up and see these kind of role models and be inspired by them.
Jazakallah, Farhana, and thank you very much for helping in the background.
Also, Lisa and Momotaj, love you both.
No, I love you too. Yeah. Farhana is always like involved with community, very actively involved with community, and she's always pulling us in as well, which is really good. And I think I should thank you, Farhana, for like introducing me to kind of this kind of community.
Thank you, Farhana.
Yeah,
you are an angel, like you always been in our life. Remember back in the days, 80s, when you were only a little girl, and you've been always around, and we used to cuddle you. And you
never felt
well done for what you've done so far.
Sister Khadija, we probably never met. So yeah,
yeah, she's my friend from
doing a great job.
We went to school.
Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Hannah, do you remember when you took me to the Ticket Girls project, that youth work? I think Syeda used to work there. What was her name? It was Syeda as well.
Syeda, my colleague.
Unlimited.
Yeah, Syeda has got 2 other sisters, I think.
Yeah. So obviously, like bringing in young girls to the project, because there was hardly any people attending, like especially girls. There used to be just me and Farhana and maybe 1 or 2 girls, and then we start like knocking on the doors again. And I think
just to let you know, my sister received MBE on working with the youth group for 25 years. So. Yeah,
she never gave up on us. She never gave up on us, especially me. She used to pull me out of my house, hold my hands, take me, bring me back.
Farhana, jazakallah for that. Also for helping in the background.
All right, bye.
Jazakallah for that. Yeah. Okay, Farhana kind of like took the fun day a little bit, because I had another question, and obviously I'm going to continue from Farhana. Yeah. Okay, before we all summarize and conclude today, inshallah, you know, everyone, name me 1 or 2 person has been an effective role model for you in your life, inshallah. Yeah. You know, so, you know, a role model that you look up to, or you've looked up to in the past, or it could be even current now. Inshallah, yeah. So all of us, let's see, you know, who we've got as role models in the community.
Okay. Who's going first?
Okay, who'd like to go first?
Okay, I'll go first. Can it be family members as well?
Yes, anyone. If they're your role model,
my mother.
Okay.
Yeah. She was a businesswoman. I grew up seeing her in Bangladesh. She was a businesswoman. She used to leave me behind and go to the other cities in Bangladesh, like Chittagong, Dhaka, and all of that. And she was very brave and very encouraging. And, you know, like, so she's my role model. And she was a fashion designer herself. She used to make a lot of designer clothes and stuff for all of us, and she used to design our clothes, and also she used to work in the machine. So all of that together, she is, and I would say so many out there, there's role models out there. Like I think it's just number. It's just I can't put a number to it, like how many I can say. But of course, Palauddin, she's a role model for us. And and my big sister, so I've got 3 there. So,
MashaAllah. Nice. Jazakallah for that. Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the youngest. Let's go to the youngest member of the family.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think that's a harsh question, because I think narrowing it down to 2 is difficult, especially when especially when I'm young, and there's been a lot of very good role models, female role models in our community. I have to say,
let's name some of them so that all the youngsters who are watching us, they can get to know them as well.
I mean, my aunt who just called in, Farhana Zaman, she does a lot of charity work, and I've seen her kind of be involved in that. Obviously, you have, politicians like Rushnara Ali, who went to my secondary school, and now she's a politician. Guys, help me out. Like, I know there's so many, but I think on the spot, I can't think of any. Many.
You said 2 already. You said 2. That's fine.
You said 2. You're done.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right. Let's go to Momotaj.
Okay. I'll say. I mean, again, I can think of loads, many, but I think one very important one that kind of helped me like grow and help me be who I am or get where I am is has always looked up and kind of tried to follow the guideline or the footstep is like Alan Sugar. You might ask me why Alan Sugar. It's because of where he came from, who he was and who he is now. It's like he had nothing and he was just a normal local, maybe. Sorry?
Is there a call?
Okay.
No.
Okay, so he had nothing from like, everybody thinks like you have to be born with a silver spoon.
I think we've got another caller, yeah? Sorry to interject. We've got another caller. Let's take this call and that will be our last call, inshallah. Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Yeah, right. What's happening? You right?
Not too bad. Who's this?
It's Shainul.
Oh, Shainul. How are you, Shainul? MashaAllah.
I was just looking through my phone. I see this interesting program you're doing.
Okay.
And it is quite, I see Shaker there. And I see Syeda pass. Just wanted to say to all the sisters, if you have daughters, young daughters, seriously, send them to combat sport. It really helps.
My daughter was sitting there listening, telling me what to say about her, but I didn't.
If you have young daughters, send them to combat sport. It really, really helps when they grow up. It gives them self-confidence and belief. Like, my daughter is a product. Abjol knows her as well. And secondly, if you're in a situation where you think, someone's been racist with you, and if you think you're not going to get physically hurt, don't walk away. Argue. Don't be scared. Unless if you think your life's in danger. If you're not in danger, do not just shy away. Right? Stand your ground. That's the only way.
Yes.
Other than that, it's a great
I think we've got to face it. We've got to face our fear or deal with it. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for calling in, Shainul. Yeah, mashallah, another brother I know since he was little as well. Alhamdulillah, there's a lot of memories with him as well. Inshallah, where were we? Which sister we had? Yes. Okay.
I was talking about role model, my role model, Alan Sugar. It's because it's like how far he's come with nothing to, we're having everything now. He's a politician. He's a biggest businessman. He's the richest man. It's like you can literally just not have anything and then make something out of it. So it's like I do business. I never invested big money. I never got a loan from anybody. I never borrowed money from anyone. I always thought of Alan Sugar when I started. So from whatever I had, like from £100, I bought products. I sold. I made £300. From £300, I bought more. Then I've started, buying more expensive stuff and selling. So this is how I started. Then even like when I did my courses, like I've did it with my own money. Like I've changed my career, trying to follow my hobby and taking a break from my career, so I was doing some like artwork, creative.
Who's the other one? Who's the other one? Sugar and
my mom. My mom.
And her mom. Okay.
My mom, because she's such a strong woman, a really, really strong woman. She went through a lot as childhood. She lost her mom when she was 6 years old. She got married to my dad when she was about 16, came here, had all of us, like 7 children, and to bring us up, and, you know, alhamdulillah, we're all like good children to her, you know, and she's given us a lot of time, a lot of energy, taught us all good stuff, you know, taught us to be nice, polite to everybody. Like Abjol was saying earlier, like how our mothers came, they didn't have a young teen, they didn't have a teenage life, they didn't have a young adult life, they didn't really have anything. They just had us, and they tried to give us everything. So mum was working on a machine, she was cooking like the best curries, keeping the house clean, and, you know, just dressing up, making us dresses, you know, for all our sisters and stuff. And I don't think I could ever do what my mum did. And I always, every time I get frustrated, I think about her, and, you know, I think about her and I keep going. And
Jazakallah. Jazakallah for that. Yeah, just because of time now. Yeah, Khaleda.
I would say I've got a lot of inspiration for one of my teachers, one of my primary school teacher. I used to be really close to her, and she used to tell me the struggle that she went through in life to be where she is, and to become the successful person she was. But her stories really inspired me, and to the way I wanted to be in life, and I wanted to do things in life. And alhamdulillah, I have done a lot of things in that route, and I am where I am because of a lot of learnings from her. And the other person I would say is one of my sister. She used to be like my mom as well, but one of my sister was like a mom to us, who looked after me like a baby. She used to do everything for me, provided for me at my when I was young, for you know, the littlest thing, like mosque money or trips money, where, you know, my dad wasn't around to pay for. My sister would do all that for me. So yeah, these are some few strong characters in my life that really inspired me.
Jazakallah. Sister Liza.
I've completely forgotten. I was like, for me, again, one of my teachers from Stratford School, Miss Mubasha, I think Khaleda would remember Miss Mubasha. She always inspired me because I used to just listen to the kind of comments she would make, really positive comments. And I achieved a little bit, she would really highlight it, and that made me feel really good about myself. And I used to just look at her. She, you know, she's an Asian and she's a teacher, successful teacher, and alhamdulillah, I think that kind of, in a way, stayed within me. And as I also, I don't know, a lot of you might know Abdul Hai, his head teacher, currently Bigland Green, and he was at Hermitage. You know, over the years, I remember how I used to be so inspired by him. The most educated head teacher in Tower Hamlets, and he used to always push me. And he goes, Lisa, there's something about you. You have the potential. You need to go for it. You need to become a teacher. And I used to think, nah, I can't do it. No, it's too much. I've got kids and all that. And I had the passion, but got married young, had my kids, and it was just like, could I do it? But I think someone like him to push me, to see potential in me, and to help me, and he always guided me. I think that very rarely you will find people like that. So alhamdulillah, once I became a teacher, I did find him, and I said to him, you know, I did it. And he goes, I told you can do it. Alhamdulillah, now today, you know, over the past 6-7 years, I've been teaching, and you know, I've been very proud of myself, and I always remember those people in my life. One more person I have to say, Abu Bai. He inspired me from the moment I met him, and I always like look up to him a lot. And I think, you know, there's a lot of things that happen, and I think a man like this who, you know, can actually do something such, you know, so big, and doesn't realize how big it is. You know, 13 Rivers Trust is a big charity. You know, for me, it's a big charity for me to be involved, and I feel so proud of him, and I feel proud of myself, you know, to actually support him and be with him. So those 3 people have really inspired me.
Jazakallah. Okay, we due to time shortage, and alhamdulillah, it's been a very popular and a lot of engagement that's taken place. So I'm going to ask all the sisters, you've got 15 seconds for your last few words and comments to kind of like say farewell to everyone, and then inshallah I will conclude. So let's go with Sister Syeda.
Oh, okay. It's been a really lovely meeting everyone, and it's been a lovely and productive evening with you guys. And it was nice meeting a few new faces. I know all of you almost, but one or two people. So, and Abjol, thank you for inviting me, and Farhana introduced me to 13 Rivers, this show as well. So thank you to Farhana. And all I can say is stay positive, think positive, because this is the only thing you can do. Negative thoughts kills. So think positive, look forward to things, and stay grounded. Thank you. Abjol Bhai, thank you so much.
No, you're welcome. You're welcome, inshallah. Yeah. So let's go to Sister Momotaj.
Yeah, thank you for having me, 13 Rivers. It's lovely being here, and also to giving us the opportunity to share our thoughts and experience. I think what I want to say is like everyone stay safe, do whatever you have to do, but stay safe during this pandemic and everything spike. I mean, the COVID spiking up as well, so it's all good doing everything on computer now from home. So try and do as much as you can from home now, and try and keep our children safe as well. That's it, really. Bye.
Khaleda?
Yes. So thank you very much, Abdul, for inviting me over. I know it was a last minute thing, sorry. But alhamdulillah, I'm glad I have been part of the show, and I was able to listen to a lot of lovely ladies and their stories and say a bit of mine as well. Going ahead, I'll say in regards to racism and any bullying, please don't stay quiet. Share, talk about it. Don't keep it to yourself, and don't live it silently.
Sister Liza?
I'd just say, I think, always believe in your capabilities, always believe in yourself. You are somebody. Allah has given you, 2 hands, 2 legs, and a brain and a mind to think. So just believe in yourself and try and reach for the sky, because nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible, and I believe that.
Okay, and let's go to our youngest member, inshallah. Yeah, Tanzina.
Thank you to 13 Rivers for having me on the show. It's been really, really great, and really nice to hear everyone's sides and experiences that they've had. And a message to the audience, I would say just persevere and don't limit yourself. And if you do have any setbacks, then you have to work at it and just take care of yourself, and just I guess just persevere. Just try and be the best you can and get the best you can.
Jazakallah. Yeah, Jazakallah to all the sisters for taking part with us, and Jazakallah to all the brothers and sisters.
Thank you so much for inviting me as well.
No, Jazakallah. Yeah, no, you're very much welcome, and this is what we intend to do from 13 Rivers Trust, inshallah. So all the brothers and sisters who actually took part, stayed with us and shared the information, please, brothers and sisters, you can also help us by sharing the repeat, so that people who were not able to watch us, they can watch us. I know there are people watching us from various different towns and cities. It was an interesting topic to try and bring people's experiences on the front of you, so that you can also feel that. And it was very cross-generational as well, mashallah, with my panel of guests. So I want to give a big jazakallah to the sisters who took part also, and everyone who made comments, and everyone who's continued to share. So on behalf of 13 Rivers Trust, we are doing our best to kind of like engage with the community, inshallah. If you want to help us, if you want to get involved as a volunteer, please contact us. Please go to our webpage. You will see all our information details there. And also, one of the things I've seen with this new generation is the unity is very strong as well. There's a lot of networking. We do know a lot of people, through social media. And I think that is one of our biggest strengths we've got. We do have humongous power amongst ourselves. We just need to know how to utilize it. And I think by giving people opportunities and groups and networks to come on board, share their experiences, meet other people as well, is a very good way of like strengthening the communities. Remember, We need to strengthen the community, preserve the community, and we need to progress with the community as well. Unity is a very important factor. Challenge is always going to be there. No communities will, meet no challenges. We're always going to have challenge. Every generation will have a different challenge, inshallah. Yeah. But a good thing we have now is that we have sisters and mothers and fathers who are able to share their experiences and hopefully support the next generation. We have a lot of social ills in our communities. We have a lot of difficulties and problems and challenges coming up. We've got COVID-19 that we have to navigate through now with the second hike that's taking place, and potential lockdowns are going to take place as well. We know many, many people have passed away. They're no longer with us. We make dua for them as well. And we know that our elders played a big role in this, and we have our utmost respect for them. We need to continuously pray for them as well, and appreciate what they've done for us and the good work that they've done to look after us. All the money earning that they've done in order to look after their relatives, poor relatives abroad as well. We, as the next generation, we're not burdened with that responsibility. Henceforth, we're able to effectively do a lot of good charity work. Sisters are at the forefront of giving charity as well, and they're also at the forefront in actually helping and supporting people around the world. So inshallah, at 13 Rivers Trust, we will celebrate and highlight those. And on that particular note, inshallah, please continue engaging with us every Wednesdays, 9 o'clock, inshallah. I'll bring different topics. And if you're interested in any topics, please message me and I will organize good debates and discussions. And time to time, we will tell you some of the conditions of our communities in the UK and what we're doing abroad, inshallah. So on that particular note, Jazakallah to everyone. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Every soul shall taste death. Eden Care provides end-of-life and burial support to those who are vulnerable. Eden Care has been befriending those who are reaching end of life and have supported burials across the UK since 2015. We support vulnerable people who need that extra social, emotional, and spiritual help. We befriend the sick in hospitals, hospices, and in private homes. Many Muslims struggle with burial costs, including new Muslims with little or no family support. An average burial in the UK can cost over £3,000. Eden Care have supported victims of the Grenfell Tower tragedy and their families with burial support. Help us continue to befriend the sick on your behalf so we can empower those who yearn for your kindness and warmth. Those who long for that feeling of being loved and not left alone or isolated during sickness. Eden Care UK provides a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week rapid response service to those who are isolated and reaching end of life or are in need of burial support. Since 2015, Eden Care UK has assisted people with legal covers, Grenfell fire victims, people with end-of-life support, and people with burial support. Help us provide new Muslims with free legal advice, so new Muslims are not forgotten during their time of need. The greatest gift you can give someone is your time, love, and concern. Donate to Eden Care's Muslim Burial Fund and perform that simple act of kindness. And continue to help your brothers and sisters from the cradle to the grave. Visit us at edencareuk.com. A simple act of kindness. Like, subscribe, and share this video.